missing someone.
Hey, this is Bond Diesel, and this is me bringing you another Intel Insights video. This is obviously going to be one of my favorite ones to bring you guys. It's the Keener's Reports set, with him being the main antagonist in the game, at least as far as we know right now. This is a set that I think is really important for anyone who enjoys the lore in this game, to kind of get to know one of probably the biggest, enemy, quote unquote, that we're dealing with. And this one's interesting because it kind of takes us down his path from being a narcissistic but good-meaning, not rogue, but division agent, into what we know him as when we enter the situation and play the game. So listen, then we'll discuss, and then we'll go from there.
God damn it! I was there. I was right there. I could have saved those people. I could have saved the whole fucking situation. Here's what I don't get. How do you recruit the best of the best and not allow them to do their fucking job? Son of a bitch. Thing is, we pull out now. We can't ever go back. The whole area just becomes one big dark zone. Totally lawless. Jesus, we're letting them win. Stop it. Stop being a pussy. Get a fucking grip. Think, goddammit. Idiots. Motherfucking idiots. How dare they? How dare they? Okay. First of all, I owe myself an apology. Emotional outbursts are unacceptable, certainly unprofessional, no matter how provoked. So, I apologize. I forgive myself. I move forward. Good. Now the question of the moment, this betrayal, this changes things. Things have changed. This is clear. We have been lied to. We are sent to do a job. Things get tough. Suddenly, we're not allowed to do it. Rules are broken. Values discarded. A city abandoned. This is the truth. This is reality. The man behind the curtain. I have to tell the others. Okay, progress report. I've spoken to several other agents about the division's betrayal. This wasn't easy given our cell structure. I only knew the agents in my cell. One was supportive, two were not. Every war has casualties, as I've been reminded. But the one led to others. I'm encouraged. Obviously not everyone will be persuadable, but a 1 in 3 success rate is more than expected. I also received an unexpected connection to Colonel Charles Bliss of the Last Man Battalion. I'm told his might be a friendly ear. I look forward to bending it. Progress report. Colonel Bliss proved receptive, a man of rare wisdom and insight, not to mention a fine taste in single malts. New challenge. With most of the initial wave of agents either dead or playing dead, the division has apparently activated a second wave. Smaller than the first, it seems. Poor planning. For want of a nail, the war was... I'm sure they're good people. Unfortunately, they can't be allowed to succeed, so we'll have to cut some assignments short. Nobody said saving the world was going to be easy. Progress report. It looks like the Last Man Battalion's the best bet, at least in the short term. I've set up a line of communication with Lieutenant Colonel Charles Bliss, and it's proving mutually beneficial. There's a certain overlap of viewpoints there, and some shared ambition. He's a man who has a vision for this godforsaken rock, one that I can work with. We've already collaborated on one operation in Brooklyn, but taking down a helicopter is just a first step. Let's see how far this can go. I've had an idea, and it's a good one. Let's think about the virus. What do we know? That it's similar to smallpox. Not smallpox, but similar. Which means it's a designated variation. Smallpox is the base on which a designer made alterations. Now, Live smallpox exists in only two places, DCD and Russia. The base virus had to come from one of them. DCD? I would have heard if their security had been breached. So, Russia. Now let's think about the designer. Are there virologists with connections to both New York and Russia? In fact, there are. Two. One's Russian, one's American. A little research tells me both were in New York on Black Friday. Thank you, Shade Tech. Let me rethink things a little. Did some more digging into our two virologists, specifically their work. That's where things got interesting. Now, if I'm reading Chernenko's abstracts right, there was no need to steal the smallpox, not when it had already been decoded and digitalized and set up to be tucked into an email like any other attachment. And that digital genome was just sitting there, waiting for someone with the right know-how and the right equipment and the right imagination to make it live. This version of New York is just a start. The possibilities are endless. Is there a limit to what can be done? Let's find out.
So obviously, of all of these recordings, this is, probably the biggest one, right? I mean, I think most of us would probably agree on that. He talks about, his initial anger with Shade and the division itself, and how he feels like he was sent there to do a job and is now not allowed to do it. He mentions the Dark Zone. Then he talks about turning the remaining agents, of which there appear not to be very many. I believe he's specifically talking about the scene in the police academy that we find, where he was able to get some compliance and then had to dispose of those who did not want to go along with his plan to go rogue, essentially. Then he moves on to talk about his relationship with Bliss. He reveals that he and the LMB were the ones who coordinated and completed the attack on the helicopter in Brooklyn, where Fei Lao and yourself are injured. Apparently, we're not injured very badly because we're able to go right back out to it. But in that operation, takes out the commander of the agents, and in theory, significantly hurts the ability for the agents to do their job, which is his goal, as he states. He says that the second wave of agents cannot be successful. Then he moves on to the virus and who could be responsible. He basically narrows it down to Chernenko and I believe Jessica Candle, I believe, are probably the two people he's talking about, the American and the Russian. He figures out that if the American source of smallpox was leaked, that he would have known about it through his connections. So he narrows it down to the Russians and talks about how they didn't even necessarily need to sneak out an actual sample, that with these DNA 3D printers and such, they would just need the blueprints. With the blueprints comes the modification and everything else that we know about. Something to keep in mind with this is, if you remember the talk about Keener, his profile, and the missing agents and things like that, he's basically considered an extreme narcissist. The very first recording is basically, it sounds like him having what I would call a nervous breakdown. And you can kind of see these tendencies where, as it said in his profile, and if you just know narcissism and narcissist especially, that's a common thread. So the idea that he thinks that he's right, he's the only one, he always knows the answer, he's infallible, that everyone should just believe him and go along with his idea, it basically makes everything else he's doing, relatively believable, right? Because it's who he is. So, I mean, at the very end of this, it says this version of New York is a start. Possibilities are endless. Is there a limit to what can be done? This is another one of those little tiny tidbits that I believe they were dropping way back when the game came out. A sequel to this game, probably not going to take place in this same city. That we're probably going to be going to another city for the sequel, following Keener, likely liberating another city, and maybe even doing more. I have my own predictions, but we'll save that for other videos. So that's what I had to say about this one. So if you liked what you heard, like the things, follow the stuff, check out all my other links and everything else I do down in the description below. Feel free to start or continue the conversation in the comments or over on Twitter. And until the next one, this is Bond Diesel.